Well, hello there. Good evening and welcome to the program. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you most kindly for joining us. Tonight on the program, we begin with the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise. INEC says over 3.5 million Nigerians have pre-registered in just 3 weeks, with the Southwest leading the numbers. But there are also isolated complaints of a low turnout in voter education in parts of the country. Our guest tonight will help us navigate some of these developments and what it means for the conversation around 2027. He's Ajanaku, the Executive Director of the Grassroots Center for Rights and Civic Orientation. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. It's good to see you this evening.
Thank you, Abdullahi.
Right. Obviously, the past couple of weeks have been interesting, to say the least, in terms of what the numbers say, what INEC is saying, and what some political parties or political figures are saying about these developments. As an observer and as someone who has developed a keen interest on these processes, what are some of your biggest takeaways so far?
Thank you so much, Abdullahi. I think this is a very important process which offers citizens an opportunity to participate robustly in the political process itself, in the electoral process itself. And so this is a process that we have been keeping a close eye on, keeping a close watch on. And the very first thing I would say from the point of view of INEC, at least in the FCT where I've monitored the exercise, there has been a very consultative process. So INEC was able to invite some of us in civil society when this process wanted to start. And then they were able to give us some of their core strategy and then appeal to us to go back to our various communities, go back to our various areas of influence to be able to get across that message that first-time registrants and those who want to make transfer of their polling units, can actually do that. And that process has been ongoing. I think I also like the approach whereby in the recent weeks, just a few days ago, INEC has devolved the process to the ward level. So it actually started as a process at the level of the local government, registration centers, of course the state, registration centers. But now, as more numbers are coming out, so INEC has deemed it necessary to now devolve, the process. And so, for us who would say that many citizens, especially those who complain that they can't afford to start transporting themselves to the local government offices of INEC to get registered, this is now an opportunity for them because the process is now closer to them. On a part of civil society, as a matter of fact, Grassroots Center for Rights and Civic Orientation, we are organizing our own kind of outreach, what we call the civic digital outreach, which we start off with Gwarimpa ward in the FCT, where we are sensitizing people, enlightening people about the need for them to come out and participate in the process. And one of the things we want to highlight in that process is the opportunity presented by the digital options, the fact that you can pre-register, the fact that you can, and we have, practicalized these things. I, for instance, transferred my polling units, and within a space of 3 weeks, I've gotten notification that that process, has, been concluded. I'm just awaiting the collection of my, PVC now. So that's to say that the digital option, the world is going digital, and the electoral process is also amplifying that, which I think is something that a lot of citizens, should take advantage of. But the challenge again is, we have this problem of data poverty. So you have many citizens that complain that even the data you are talking about, I really cannot afford it. So what we are trying to do is to create events that give us those clusters of people, whereby we can share things like data, put on a hotspot, people can connect to it, and then they get to from their phone to pre-register. So that's how the process has been so far, and I think I really commend the institution. I want us to have belief in these institutions and engage them. rather than just sit back and condemn them, we should be able to engage. And if the processes are not working, then we have a basis to really assail or criticize the process.
Right.
So that's how it has been so far.
All right, we're going to talk about some of the processes that have been less than smooth or 100% efficient, because some of our reporting has also covered areas where people who wanted to do the pre-registration on their phone sometimes are unable to access the service because they are down at some point in time. But talk to me about the number that we're working with here. Over 3.5 pre-registered Nigerians who want to join the voter register. Is that an impressive number? What does that tell you?
When you consider the fact that this process is going to be on for a very long time, and just for within a few
3 weeks,
a few. When you look at the length of time that this has been going on, I think it's an impressive figure, and it still gives that ray of hope that the people, the very people around which the democratic process and the electoral process should be grounded, are still interested in the process. Because for me, 3.5 and that figure is a very good number across the country. And I've also seen some sort of information going around about raising suspicion around the figures in the Southwest. I think that is also what we are trying to address with our sensitization, to get people to understand that you need to trust the right sources of information. You need to get sources of information that would not disinform you about any process like this, in terms of the electoral process. Because some of the arguments I've seen about the figures, whether the figures in the Southwest are more than other figures, I think people should just allow the processes to play out. We should, as much as possible, as civic actors, support these processes, get the message out there, get out the registrants, let the registrants come out, and and of course, there's always even a process for cleanup. There is even a process for a 7-day process, in the Electoral Act, where even the voter register would eventually be displayed for claims and objections and things like that. So, in trying to engage the process, I have tried to talk to our colleagues in the space that let's move away from this adversarial mindset about a process that is as critical as the electoral process of our country. Let's engage in a way that we build the confidence in citizens, and then when they get there and there is any challenge, we tackle that challenge head on. And that is the way you want to record progress and move forward with this kind of processes.
And do you think those concerns lack merit in terms of some of the arguments that you've heard so far? I mean, the APC is the loudest voice. I mean, you can qualify it as an allegation or a concern. We had the National Publicity Secretary said here a couple of days ago, and he said, listen, we have a right to voice our concerns about these figures that we thought were implausible in terms of the practicality of it. But do you think there is a fail-safe in this process that doesn't allow for the process to be completed first? Is it so transparent that some of these issues can be addressed while the exercise is still ongoing? Concerns around multiple registration, for instance.
I think this is part of what the political actors should also understand, that they have a role in not just assailing the process or criticizing the process or trying to demonize the process in a sense. But they also have a role, like the issue of multiple registration you talk about. Everyone knows that this is a punishable offense. In fact, when you look at the Electoral Act, the fine is 100,000, a year imprisonment, or both, depending on the discretion of the judge. So, if you look at that fact, I would rather that we sensitize people to understand that multiple registration is an offense. And anywhere there is documented evidence that somebody has engaged or a group of people have engaged in multiple registration, the law is very clear. The law is very clear. So it's not even about whether it is one party that is talking about it or not. Even if it is the ruling party, the law is clear that those people should be, should be held accountable. And if they are found guilty, it is 100,000 naira fine or, a year imprisonment or both. having said that, to the question whether those concerns, whether they lack merit, I would refer you to the fact that, you see, there is a lot of trust deficits in our electoral process. So even from the point of view of perception alone, we have seen years upon years of electoral malfeasance that if you now tell somebody that a process is going on, they are likely to say, okay, based on the mindset coming from the past experiences, that this is not a process that is going on well. But we should be able to distinguish between where facts are placed on the table and where there apparently is some sort of disinformation around the electoral process. And I find it really, really disturbing, because the political actors, the political parties, should be the ones encouraging people to come in and participate in the process. And so if, for example, you say, okay, figures are inflated, how did you come? What was the yardstick for that? I heard some people talking about statistical impossibility. I really, have not seen the smoking gun, really. And that's why I said, and I make the point, and I'm not trying to hold brief for any institution, but I am more concerned with what we get our people to participate in the electoral process. FCT is February 2026. In November, Anambra is going to the poll, where in that particular state we have historic numbers of low turnout. So I am wary of anything that would send the wrong message to the Nigerian voter, the Nigerian registrant, that the process is not working. And I have personally invested in this process, which is why probably if you have time, you can join our civic digital outreach in Gwarimpa Ward, which we are starting with in the FCT, which is more or less like enlightening the youth to say multiple registration is an offense. If you engage in it, this is what you stand to face, and things like that. So I think the political parties should join us in that process, and let's work together to make the electoral process work.
Right, okay. And speaking about low turnout, because this has become a recurring theme. Whenever we talk about our electoral processes, whether it's the election, whether it's the CVR, the continuous voter registration exercise, let's quickly take a look at the table. What INEC has shared so far about some of the figures that have come in already 3 weeks into the ongoing exercise, to have an understanding of which states have pretty much the numbers. I mean, you can see some of the demographics there. We'll circle back to this one in just a moment, but let's go to the table that gives us direct figures from state by state so that we can have some sort of understanding. Now, you take a look at it, right? In the north, for instance, you have states like Yobe with 4.9% of the national figures, with over 173,000 people so far registered. And then you go to the southwest, where the concerns were raised over a week ago. In Oyo, for instance, the number is at 160,000 plus. In Osun State, with the upcoming governorship election, that number a little over a week ago was around 300,000 plus. Now it's over 500,000 plus. And then Lagos State with 440 plus thousand. But overall, Mr. Ajanaku, is the fact that you get that the north, in the southeast, and in parts of the south-south, people are not particularly moved by this exercise. Is this your typical case of apathy, dissatisfaction, disenchantment with the exercise or with the electoral process? I mean, how would you characterize what's going on here?
Yes, so like I said in the earlier explanation, I feel the figure, overall national figure that we have recorded so far in the number of weeks that we have seen this exercise play out, I think that data shows an enduring interest in the electoral process, because what it means is that and don't forget that there are some states who at some point they would end the the voter registration. I mean, just for some time when they go to the elections, because the Electoral Act says updating and all of that, the voter registration should end 90 days before any election under the Act. So that is also there. Like the FCT, the registration, according to INEC, would end October 18. So overall, I am upbeat about the turnout level for the registration. But there's a cautionary tale here. And the cautionary tale is that in 2023, we saw around 84 million registered voters. But of course, the figure in terms of turnout was really, really very abysmal. And I make that point that, in fact, the vote that brought in the current president, he was competing with, it was around the same. In fact, MK Abiola, if you go and look at the data, recorded even higher numbers than, Bola Tinubu in 1993, the June 12th, if you look at the figures that were published, even in Babangida's book. So it shows that we need to get it right between the question of registration and then, of course, the question of actually coming out to vote. Because we have seen it over and over again, a situation in which we have big numbers registering. I mean, 84 million in 2023 is, fantastic number of people who have come out. But we didn't see that number turning out to vote. And that was, in fact, that was why some people outside the country were questioning, are you sure these were really people on the register, or is it a bogus register? But I believe that those were the figures. But we need to now create that energy, that the energy should not end with voter registration, but it should also translate when it comes to the elections. And of course, some of the reforms that are being proposed, I believe would also strengthen that whole process and get more people to participate. So for now, I don't want to say, and of course, I also know there's a factor of last minute. Nigerians, like this last minute. So I would rather say that it is too early to say that the turnout is low. Of course, we have those historic issues of lack of trust in the process and all of that. But by the figures I'm seeing currently, I think we are doing well in terms of the turnout.
And you don't have any concerns about how disproportionate it is. I mean, if you look at the lump sum, 3.5 million, quite impressive. But you consider that 1/3 of that is coming from 2 states, for instance, or 3 states, give or take, or 1 region, for instance, out of 6 geopolitical zones in the country. Does that give you some sort of concern that in some states it's even less than 10,000 when the numbers suggest that we have a lot of teenagers who have crossed over the threshold of joining the registration?
Yeah, so I love to break down data, and all my life as a civil society person, I've been involved in communicating data that has been crunched, properly. So of course, I would not say that I've looked at the whole data for the whole state. In fact, for FCT, I was even communicating that we need to do a lot of more work to get the numbers up. But in terms of the whether the process is disproportionate or not, I think we also need to understand certain factors that drive this kind of turnout. Sometimes, in some states, it could be that the local, and he said all politics is local. It could be that the local political dynamic is what is driving that surge you are seeing. And maybe in some other states, they still feel that, 2027 is far away, and then they...
No rush.
Yes, they kind of switch off and okay, there's still time to do it. And of course, there's this last-minute syndrome we have as a country. Even our football team is always waiting for last minute to qualify for major tournaments, as we watch in the match today. So, at the moment, I do not feel one can categorically say that the places where you are seeing a lag or sluggish, maybe it's some very funny thing that is going on. It's really too early in the day for us to do that, knowing that this process will play out. I mean,
But what about the question on sensitization, creating that public awareness on the part of the electoral umpire and on the part of political groups, and civil society groups. Do you think Nigerians have been well informed, well sensitized, well mobilized for this exercise?
Yes, that is where we come in as civil society, and honestly, for that, we do not feel that. Where are the radio jingles? Where are the jingles on TV? Where are the, yes, say for my organization, I don't want to say we are the tree in the forest, but, and of course, our resources are also limited. So would have wanted to like do a more geopolitical zone kind of campaign, go on radio, put jingles in the different languages, but we don't have the resources. So we have just tried to make do with social media advertising. If you check my WhatsApp status, today the sensitization we are having is all over, is there. So it's just currently a stop gap situation. And based on my interaction with some officials in INEC, there is also a funding problem. There's a problem of funding for this level of massive education of the voters, of the electorate. And there is that reality that if we want people to participate in the process, then we must be ready to give them the information they need to participate and also provide the resources. That's why, for example, my organization, we said, okay, there's a problem of data poverty. So you see a young person, why have you not registered? Why have you not gone on the INEC portal to either transfer your polling unit or, pre-register to, go through the process? And they'll tell you, it's because I don't have data. And so on the day we are doing our program, for instance, we have said, okay, we are going to give you Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi. Come there. In fact, we are providing lunch for the people that are coming. Come there, sit down, use our Wi-Fi, go on your phone, go on the INEC portal, pre-register. If you've registered before, don't engage in multiple registration. Transfer your polling unit if you feel you need a polling unit that is closer. Right. So I think there's a resource constraint also that INEC should be doing a lot more if they have the funding to actually support those processes.
Right. Good luck trying to stop some of them from logging on to TikTok and Facebook as well as Instagram. But let's go back to the infographics and take a look at what the demographics are telling us regarding the categorization of persons that have already registered. Let's go back to some of the information shared by INEC about some of the data so far. Beyond just what the state's figures are, let's circle back to the other slide just to take a look at the demographics of, right. All right, zooming in there, you can see that so far we've seen a lot of women folk between the two genders who have so far registered. 1.8 million females have been registered so far, registering 51.7%. Then you have 1.7 million male. But if we go deeper into the demographics, right, 70 plus Nigerians, people in that age bracket, I mean, people older than 70 still registering? Well, first-time registrants, I suppose. 45,000 of them have been registered so far. The elderly, 372,419 have so far been registered. People within the age bracket of 35 to 49, middle age, you would categorize them. 835,000 plus people, making 23.5%. How about the new blood, the new first-time voters, 18 to 34, 2.2 million. And I suppose that is INEC hitting the mark right there. And then it further goes down to, breaking down into smaller groups. You have public servants, you have students, which is a good number. 800,000 plus students have registered. Civil servants, 97,000 plus. Business owners, 800,000 plus, and so on and so forth. But yeah, so far, what do you make of the demographic? I mean, I would have loved that the age brackets between 18 to 34 is a little broken down, so we know how many 18-year-olds are actually joining the voter register. But how confident are you that The voter register is still getting younger and younger by every exercise.
I think that speaks to the very massive potentials of Nigeria as a country, that we have a youth bulge, we have a massive youth demographic. And this demographic, in fact, if I was a political actor, I was a political party, I would put my research bureau on that demographic to say, what do we need to design in terms of priorities, policies, and programs that will resonate with this demographic? So this is what I feel, and everybody thinks that the political parties should be doing. So they should now take this data. Yes, there is always a process for review, for cleaning up, and you know, even for objections. So even some of the objections we are seeing now, I just hope it's not just a one-off chatter, you know, a one-off, you just chatter about it, you know, just talk about it as a way of raising issues, and then you don't take the particular party that took that issue up should, for example, start documenting hard evidence, create the smoking gun, so that down the line, when the register is being reviewed, you can raise those questions, and of course, if there are valid submissions, it will be done. But beyond that, is that this data is not for fun. This data is supposed to be the basis on which political actors plan their strategies, because these are human beings in the data that you're going to be talking to. You're going to be campaigning to them. You're going to be discussing with them, helping them to see how your policies are different from your opponent's policies, how they stand to gain in terms of the dividends of democracy if they vote for you. So that youth bulge there, for me, is a massive opportunity. And like I said, I'm very happy that you have a lot of young people who are showing interest in the electoral process. And this time around, my admonition to INEC, my warning to INEC is, don't disappoint these people who are believing in the process. From now to the off-cycle elections, whether it's Anambra, FCT, the off-cycle elections next year, ensure that they are engaged in ways that they will believe in the process, so that when we are meeting at that point in 2027, there will be energy, the voters' energy in the elections, and then the energy can also translate into the deepening of our democracy.
All right. And on that particular positive note, we're going to anchor the conversation here. For now, I'm Ajanaku. Thank you so much for stopping by on Daily Politics this evening. I appreciate you very much for the analysis. Thank you for your time. Yeah. Well, that's our conversation with Ajanaku, Executive Director of the Grassroots Center for Rights and Civic Orientation, on the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise by INEC, where the electoral umpire says so far 3.5 million Nigerians took part in the exercise in pre-registration. So far, so good, at least from some of the analysis so far. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back...